and good afternoon. We want to welcome you to South Suburban Missionary Baptist Church Did You Know Midweek Moment series. As you know, February is the month of Black History, and all month long we've gathered SSMBC deacons together to discuss Black history makers. My name is Deacon Trailer, and I want to introduce our panel for you right now. We have Deacon Scott, our ministry leader.
Hello.
We have Deacon Foster.
Good afternoon.
We also have Deacon Carolyn Jones.
Yes, good afternoon.
All right. Okay, so today we want to talk about the struggle, the survival, and the influence of Mamie Teal. At this time, I'm going to hand it over to our ministry leader, Deacon Scott.
Hello, and welcome back to another midweek moment.
Yes.
All month we've been talking about history makers, Black history makers. So today is no different, and Mamie Teal is no last one on the list. So this is our final Wednesday for this month in this era of Black history, but we still want to give all that we have to Mamie Teal. Now, Mamie Teal was born Mamie Elizabeth Teal, Carthen, I'm sorry, and she was born on November 23rd, 1921, and she was born in Webb, Mississippi. Now, I am a native of Mississippi, so I know some of the things that was going on in Mississippi, especially in that era in the Delta of Mississippi, because back when I was born, even later when I was born, there was still things going on in Mississippi that were not pleasing, and by my time, people were speaking up at that time. So she moved to Chicago, really, uh, just to get away, basically, because most people in Mississippi, when they move to the north, they're moving to the north to try and make things better for themselves, basically. Now with Mamie Teal, that won't be her history, where moving to Chicago made her everything that she wanted to be, because she went through some things when she moved to Chicago after she got married and had her son. She went through some things, So today we're gonna just talk about Mamie and some of her struggles and some of the things that her adversities, her surviving adversities, and we're gonna talk a little bit about how can the things that she went through help us today? How can it influence us to do things better or to do things different, or even if we do things the same? How does it influence us today? So we're gonna start off today by, in this discussion that we're having, we're gonna talk about some struggles that she had, and some of the struggles that she might have not had she not been the person that she was. So because you were born in Mississippi and moved to Illinois or moved to Chicago or wherever, doesn't change the struggle that you have, because your struggle sometimes follow you wherever you go. So we're going to allow our deacons to just elaborate on the struggle of Mamie Teal as they see it. Okay. And we can start off with Deacon Jones, just giving us a little bit of what you think about the struggles of Mamie Teal.
Okay. The struggles of Mamie Teal, from what I know of, is basically coming to Chicago, and she had a child early in life. She had a child early in life, and they told her that her child was sick, and he had some deformities because of the way he was born. where the cord was wrapped around him when he was born. And so that was a struggle for her to deal with her child, and the doctors telling her child wasn't going to live long. But she in that struggle, she believed God first of all,
Mhm.
because of the way her mom had raised her, and her mom raised her to be a strong Black woman,
Mhm.
and to let her know that whatever comes up in your life, you can call on God for it. And so that was one of the struggles that really stuck out with me, is that she did not believe what the doctors told her. She wanted to believe that her child is going to be okay. And because of her belief, I believe her child became the man that became the young man that he was during his time.
Okay, Deacon Foster.
So, from what I know, one of her struggles was she was married to Louis Teal.
Hmm.
Louis Teal was himself a violent man. Uh, he, I would say, her struggle would be that she married a man that was an abuser. Uh, and even when she tried to uh, work things out, it got worse. So she had to get a court order uh, for him, and uh, through this court order, her husband was given a choice to either go to jail or go to the army, and he chose to go to the army. So that was her struggle of trying to raise a child all by herself.
Hmm.
Okay, Deacon Trevor, would you add to the conversation?
Yeah. Um, the obvious struggle was just being Black in Mississippi. Um, um, Once you are able to navigate and that the conditions in Mississippi and get to an age uh, where you can move out, she did. And she was part of what they call that Great Migration. People from the South came from the South up to the North, looking for a better life.
Mhm.
As was mentioned, she had a son who had special needs. So that was also her struggle, and raising him predominantly by herself. But after her son was killed in Mississippi, he went back to visit relatives, and he didn't make it back. Her struggle then was to find justice for her son. Uh, she was determined to find uh, the answers to what happened to her son. So, but as it turned out, she went through this process, and things kind of worked out. But after the death of her son, her struggles then was to educate others about what happened to her son, right? And make sure that it doesn't happen anymore. So
Mhm.
that's how I see her struggles being.
Mhm. Okay, and thank you guys so much. To add to just the conversation, to add to the conversation, since we are now at the place of where her son was born, or her son was brutally killed. Um, I think her struggle in that instance was that it was really a joke to everybody. Not everybody, but to everybody that was involved on that side of the street. It was a joke, it was like he didn't matter, or it didn't even have to be him. We couldn't even describe who he was. So how dare you say that when you know that he was beaten and all these things was done to him and you couldn't recognize him? So I feel that a struggle for her was to just stand on what she was standing on, knowing that everybody felt like, well, you just a black person, you don't matter, or whatever. And I distinctly remember that my mom would talk about how, uh, black people would have a mind to do things, but was afraid to do those things because of what might happen to them. Like with Mamie Teal, her son was he stuttered, and she taught him that when he started to talk and if he stuttered, to whistle, and that from that whistle is where he got into the things that he was in. So nobody wants to talk about exactly um what happened with her son when she wasn't there. So nobody wants to talk about what happened, but they want to make the world believe the things that they are saying. So one of her struggles was to sit there or be there and listen to everybody say things about her son that she knew were not true, but everybody believed it. So I feel a struggle of hers was to keep her composure and not do something that would put her in jail or whatever the case is, because I know that at some point, by me being a mother too, I know at some point she could have laid hands on somebody. And so to keep her composure was a struggle, because it's hard to want to do something for your child or your family member. It's hard to want to do something for them. Know that you can't do it right now. So that makes the struggle harder. So that's what I get from the part of the struggle that she had in life. So anybody else want to talk about the struggle, and if not, then
I got something I want to add.
okay.
So you can get a better picture of what the real struggle was back in Mississippi during that time. I'm reading this. It says that Roy Bryant and his half brother J. Mylan faced trial for Teal's kidnapping and murder, but were acquitted by an all-white jury after 5-day trial and a 67-minute deliberation. One juror said if we hadn't stopped to drink pop, it wouldn't have taken that long. Only months later, in an interview with Look magazine in 1956, protected against double jeopardy, Bryant and Mylan admitted to killing Emmett. So they don't care. They didn't care nothing about you or me or nothing else, right? So they didn't care nothing about that boy's life. The jury said, we don't care. We just going to let him go. So,
and then so that we can move on, another thing was that they didn't want to recognize him as a kid. They wanted to recognize him as an adult. They wanted to say that an adult did this, but this was a kid. This was a child. I mean, that hadn't even made it to 15. He was a child. And so the thing was that nobody wants to recognize that this was a child that you did this to. This was not an adult. Doesn't make it better if it was an adult, but this was a child that you did this to. And so you need to say that out of your mouth, that this is a child. This is not an adult, right?
Yep.
Okay, and so now we can move on to, and we just want to discuss a little bit about her surviving adversity, her survival mode. I mean, what put her in survival mode, or how does she find a place to be, to just survive? And I don't mean survive living. I mean survive mentally and survive spiritually, because unfortunately, when we going through some things, we just forget that spiritual thing that we have, that God got this thing, we sort of forget that sometimes. So let's talk a little bit about her surviving adversity. How did she get into that mode? How did she get into that survival mode?
She, but if I'm not mistaken, I think she got into that survival mode by uh, by concentrating on what they had did to her son, and that everybody needs to know what they did to her son. I think that was more so her survival mode, was that
Mhm.
she did not want her son to die in vain, and the fact that nobody knows what happened to him. She wanted the whole world to know what the white man had done to her son.
Man, I
Yep.
agree.
I believe that I think that was more so because she said, if I'm not mistaken, uh, I can't remember verbatim, but she said that basically if we have to stand up and say something, we just cannot let just let it not let it known. We just have we have to stand up and say something, because she said that if if something happened to one of us, it happens to all of us. If something happens to one of us, it happens to all of us. And so that's a powerful word right there.
Mhm.
Because even as the word of God says, is that we ought to love our neighbor as ourselves. How can we do that if we don't understand the fact that something happened to you, it also happens to me? And then how we going to lean on each other to get through it?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
agree.
So just to piggyback, yeah, how she survived adversity was the love for her son,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
It wasn't about her anymore. It wasn't about no. It wasn't about the community. It was about her son. It was a
Mhm.
Yes.
mother's love for her son. So
Mhm.
Yes.
with that in mind, that drove her to keep the fight and keep the battle going until she got the answers. Right? People tried to quiet her down, and they didn't want to show the open the casket. They said
Right.
this wouldn't work, but she no, she was determined that the people need to see, right? And so that's how. Uh, she survived that adversity by just the love she had for her son.
Yes.
I agree. I
Well, and also her adversity was to be a voice, uh, to fight. She encouraged um, Black Americans to fight, fight for change. Uh, that we no longer uh, just as Martin Luther King had struggled of changing Black America as far as being treated equal. But that was her as well, as far as not being judged uh, from the color of his skin.
Hmm.
I agree. I
We
agree.
need to.
And thank you guys so much. Thank you so much. This is a good conversation here. Okay. Now, since we've talked about the struggle and we've talked about her survival, uh, let's talk a little bit about how she, the things that she went through, or the life that she lived, or any of the things that she did, how can it influence us today? How can we get anything from this today? How can we get anything?
Well, I think that if nothing else that we get from this is that we need to stick together as people. We need to stick together as people. We need to come together as people and love together as people. And no matter what, no matter what the circumstances or the consequences are, that know that we have to love each other. We have to love
Mhm,
each other
mhm,
and stand on that.
Okay, what I get from the struggle of Mamie Teal is that some things in life are worth fighting for.
mhm,
Hmm.
Um, as I look at her situation and her struggle uh, surrounding, coming up out of Mississippi and trying to build a life and raise her son, and then the tragic things that happened to her son, and all the obstacles that she ran into trying to find justice for her son. It tells me that the struggles are hard and to need to persevere, right? Don't give up on what you believe in.
That's it.
She
That's it.
believed her son was murdered, right?
Hmm.
And she wanted her son's killers to come to justice. So I've learned that, just because I can't see the end right now, I just need to keep pushing and doing, standing up for what's right. And then eventually justice will prevail.
Yeah.
mhm, mhm. I agree. I agree with what everyone has said tonight, and I mean today. I'm sorry, and I just know that if we as Black America, if we as Black America take anything from what our forefathers or the people before us have gone through, if we take anything from that, then we will not have a situation in our world where we have to sit back because of the color of our skin.
Hmm.
If we take anything from them, knowing that they fought and they persevered and they kept going and they kept pushing until they got to a point where I'm visible.
Yeah.
See me, I'm here, you
Hmm.
know? And so we have to put our best foot forward in what we're doing. And especially as Black people, we have to do that because in all of our lives, our forefathers, our grandmothers and grandfathers and great grandparents and great great grandparents or whatever the case is were raised in an era where they were less than. And if we stay in that less than mentality, then we go nowhere. We do nothing. So we need to get it in our minds, and not just on Black History Month, not just in the month of February. We need to keep our Blackness a forefront all the time because unfortunately or fortunately, whichever one or whoever is thinking about it, what it is, we're going to be Black until we die.
Mhm.
I don't know what color we change to after death, but I know until we die, we're gonna be Black. So being Black does not make you less than. Being Black don't make you need to be quiet. Being Black doesn't mean that you should be stepped on, and when you're stepped on, you just get up and dust yourself off. Being Black does not mean that you are high and I am low. Being Black does not mean that you can do what you want to do to me and I supposed to agree with it because you are you and I'm me. So I feel that all of the people that we've talked about this month, all of the history makers that we've talked about, I feel that all four of them for this month, all of the ones that we've talked about, and we know that there are lots more, but the ones that we've talked about can give us something to hold on to just if we think about the things that they made happen. They
Yeah.
didn't Mamie Teal didn't stop because they killed her son. She didn't stop. she kept going and she kept persevering, and she did everything that she felt she needed to do until she died. So we need to stay on this road. We need to keep running until we die.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else want to add a little something or not?
Nope. Great conversation.
Okay.
Yes.
I think so. I think this was a great conversation, and everyone that's watching this, viewing this on today, I hope that you enjoyed today, and that you would watch our midweek moments. You can go back and watch them if you didn't get a chance to watch today or whatever. You can always go back if you want to see them again. You can go back to YouTube and you can watch them again over and over if you want, and just know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're not a mistake because you're Black. So keep that in mind, and I thank the panel that was here, the deacons that were here from South Suburban. I thank you guys for being on this panel, and it was just such an enjoyable conversation to know that we have a heart for the things that are going on in our world. So if that is if that is not enough to make you run a little bit more this Wednesday afternoon, then just pull it up on YouTube and watch it again. And so it give you a little bit more inspiration, because I know there's probably something that you wanted to do in life, but somebody told you that you shouldn't be doing that. So be encouraged, and always stay diligent, and just persevere in the things that you want to do. Like I said before, frame your own world.
Yes.
And thank you guys for being on our midweek moment on today.
Amen.
Well,
Amen.